public figures today, yesterday, and the day before predicting and all but calling for mass violence and rioting in the streets.
Obviously, Republicans, I think, are the biggest threat to democracy. We don't separate right-wing extremists and Republican Party anymore. Republicans, I think, are the biggest threat to democracy. We don't separate right-wing extremists and Republican Party anymore. Republicans are the biggest threat to democracy.
This means war. That is where we are. We are at war with these people. These folks are evil.
And all but calling for mass violence and rioting in the streets.
I gotta leave it at that. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel, folks. There are so many people out there in our world, not just the whole planet, but especially in America. People are afraid to think. They're afraid to think for themselves. They're afraid to share information. They're afraid to say the words with their own mouth. And that's why you and I, we're the people like us are the tip of the spear. We're the point of the spear. And we're piercing through the veil of lies to come out the other side and make people look at what the hell is going on. Not everyone can be brave. Not everyone can be smart. Not everyone can have all the information right all the time at their fingertips, on the tip of their tongue, and be able to say what's needed at any one time to convince any one person. Nobody can do that. But we can all do our part to keep pointing at what is going on and just go, look at this. Look at it. So I figured I would start today's Monday Mayhem off with a big middle finger to the attempt at World War III. And I think this is a very serious attempt to drag the entire world in to World War III. So they got one problem. These people, these right-wing people are evil. They're the biggest threat to our democracy, say the Democrats, right? Well, who do they need now if we're going to go to war? Well, they need all those corn-fed white boys, all of those patriotic people, no matter what their colors are, whether they're black or red or brown or white or whatever color is attributed to whatever fucking race. Well, apparently, allegedly, Donald Trump is pissed that his ban on transgender soldiers in the military means that if they reinstitute the draft in order to have enough troops to invade Iran, that it's going to backfire. Not because people don't want to go. Well, maybe that's it. But all they have to do is identify as transgender. You don't have to cut your dick off. You just have to say, you know what? I don't think I'm a guy anymore. That's a big whoopsie again on their part. They just didn't quite see through it. Because yes, they've been threatening to institute the draft. Welcome back, folks. It is Monday Mayhem. Yesterday was an amazingly great Sunday Night Live, and I made an error. I made a big error. C, and you know who you are, C, did a $50 super chat for Sunday Night Live. Jolene was asleep at the wheel. She totally missed it. It came through. So next Sunday, C, you get 2 comments, questions on Sunday night at the zoo. So just let's help remind Mr. Ooman of that. Anyways, there we go with that. Yeah, what do you think about that, huh? Middle finger? Right? Middle finger to the war. Hey, look, you want your war, forget it. Anyways, people are waking up. They're waking up. Even these fucking idiots in New York City, they're out there. We want this. We want that. Let them go. ICE sucks. And some dude jumps up, screams, Aloha snack bar, and tries chucking an IED, a bomb. Tries chucking a bomb to kill people. He's like, oh, shit, that was almost my ass, right? They don't realize how close they are, folks. How close they really are. They're in big, big trouble. In any event, folks, we're not in trouble. Not today. But they are pushing for World War III. And our national energy partners in the Middle East are changing their perspectives. Today, the Saudi foreign minister made a post on X for the whole world to see. And I read it. And I've also copied it, and we're going to talk about it right here. So here's the quote. For 36 years, we believed that American bases protected us. But in the first war, we learned that in fact, we were protecting them. Why would he say that? Why would he be seeing things differently between them and the United States of America? Are they now thinking that the oil supply for all the nations of the world is what everybody wanted protected? Nobody wanted any of the refineries and oil fields and tankers bombed and blown up. Nobody wanted that because nobody in the world wanted expensive oil. You couldn't hurt the U.S. by bombing any one country, but you can certainly hurt the world oil supply and the cost of it by bombing many countries at once. So I think now the world sees, and certainly the Saudi Arabians see, the United States and Israel alliance as a threat to their regional stability, their safety, and their profits as oil-producing countries. This is going to be possibly really, really bad. Oh, now for part two of this same thing. I don't just want to make a statement like that, read one quote without getting more. This is confirmed by the Financial Times and Reuters. This is not Russia TV, RT. This is not some Chinese dude with subtitles. This is not some radical right-wing statement coming. Financial Times and Reuters. Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, and Qatar are reviewing every financial agreement with Washington, D.C. All of them at the same time. Times are a-changing, folks. This is not good for you and me. This isn't good for us. Another big shot from the Middle East is being quoted as saying, well, we're not going to go with the quote. I'm going to go with the paraphrase. I can't remember the quote. This guy's pissed off. This guy's absolutely pissed off that the United States has joined Israel to bomb Iran, completely disrupt the peace and harmony of the region, just to piss everyone off at Iran, and it's not working. It's not working. This is a huge deal, folks. Oil is energy. Energy is our standard of living. Energy is our standard of living. That's it, right? Without oil, natural gas, liquid petroleum, without it, we're toast. That's a big part of our energy infrastructure, is in energy creation. It's a big part of our transportation, which is cars, semis, trains, shipping, everything, aircraft, everything. So let me ask you a question, right? Are you prepared? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. We could get the false flag we're all worried about. That seems to be the next thing in line. I mean, literally, they meaning the powers that be, whatever religion or group name you want to put to them, the puppet masters. They want us, America, pissed off at the rest of the world, especially Iran right now, but also Russia and China. They want us pissed at them. All they have to do is light off a bomb, a few bombs, several terrorist acts in America, and then blame the country of choice, most likely Iran. Because what did the Democrats do? They brought in 25 million people, most of them military-aged men traveling alone. That's a trifecta of invasion, folks. We are invaded with sleeper cells of all ilks, whether you call it Islamic terrorism or whether you call it cartel drug lords, whether you call it freeloading fuckheads. Not good. But back to the Middle East, back to the oil-producing nations. What happens if Saudi Arabia and all the other OPEC nations, the oil-producing, exporting nations, what if they all tell the U.S. that the United States military has to leave their nations, abandon their bases, abandon the ports? They could do that and say, you've destabilized the region. You've jeopardized our income. You've hurt our business, our livelihood. Because of you and what you have done with Israel, we now have attacks on our infrastructure, whether it's oil, electricity, water production, etc. Does the United States just pack up and leave? Can Trump kiss their asses enough? Or does the United States go after them like they did Venezuela to get that Venezuelan oil? Well, I don't think they would do that. They wouldn't dare, because China and Russia would be there in about half a fucking second. Not to mention Iran would say, we'll be on your side. But I have another question to pose to you. This one's a little more conspiratorial. The United States of America is forming this American shield, National Shield, North American Shield, some kind of shield organization that's supposed to stop drug lords. That's what they're supposed to stop. So they started with Venezuela. They've threatened Colombia. They've threatened Cuba. They've also threatened Mexico. Now, there's a country right next to Venezuela called Guyana, aka French Guiana. They're a big oil producer also. Could it be that in an effort to try and change the regime in Iran to make it U.S. friendly, so we, meaning the United States of America and its closest and greatest ally, would control a massive amount of oil, world energy. Remember, energy is heat, energy is cooling, energy is transportation, energy is food, energy is water, energy is standard of living. If the United States and its greatest ally controlled all the Middle East oil, United States oil, as well as Central American oil, that's a pretty good chunk of the energy. Russia would be the only outlier at that part. But if we, the United States of America and its greatest ally, cause the entire Middle East to turn its back on us and say, you're not getting preferential pricing anymore. Right? We've got trouble, folks. We've got trouble. They are reviewing all of their agreements, all of their deals, all of their, treaties with these countries. They could get canceled. They could get canceled. That's a big swing the other direction. Now the United States of America only has the United States, its own oil. Well, now Venezuela and probably French Guiana. There is some oil in Cuba offshore. There's also a lot of Mexican oil that isn't being properly exploited. But don't worry, the Mexicans have Gloria Sheinbaum as their president. And even though she's controlled by the cartels, apparently the cartels are getting weapons from the United States and Israel. Kind of sounds like a CIA style alliance. So America could be isolated to the northern end of South America, Central America, as well as North America. That could be it. Oh, I apologize. Canada as well. Canada is also a huge oil-producing nation that supplies the United States of America with very inexpensive oil that helps our standard of living. I tell you, they could have divided the country or the world up into distinct regions that are geographically aligned, kind of like the book 1984. If we have the Americas from the equator north on the North American side, it could get really interesting. Just a thought, folks. Just a thought. Now, don't think I've forgotten the Epstein files, because I haven't. Not one bit. I took my free time today, and I was sure to click and repost, and click and repost, and click and repost, and click and repost everything I could on the Epstein files. It is getting very ugly. Very ugly out there. That's right, folks. Regular screwball Americans are all joining together to oppose the blackout by our own government on the investigation, prosecution, arrest, and prosecution of all of these rapists. So I got a little piece here I wanted to share with you called Underage Girls, Goats, Presidents, and a hypothetical question for you. Now, I'm going to read something to you. Something I found from someone who posted it called Ragnar Blackwolf. I want to give him the credit. And he says, hypothetically, if someone was accused of having sex with goats by over 30 different people, and then, denied it, right? There's someone who was accused denies it. But this person who was accused of having sex with goats also dropped very public hints about how much he liked to have sex with goats over the course of decades. And then this guy who's been accused of having sex with goats ran a goat pageant to find the best looking goats and was best friends with someone who was convicted of fucking goats and trafficking goats to billionaires from all over the world who also like to fuck goats. And his name was in the classified goat fucker chronicles. 1.5 million times this goat fucker is mentioned in the goat fucker chronicles, who's been accused of having sex with goats by 30 different people who saw it. And then the guy who fucked or was accused of having sex with goats wished other goat fuckers who are in prison, wished them well. What do you think the odds are that the alleged goat fucker is actually a real goat fucker? All right, I took Ragnar's message and I ad-libbed a little bit in it. Think about it, folks. And if necessary, pause the video, back it up 2 minutes, and replay these last few minutes about the goat fucker and really think about it. What you believe is up to you. By the way, I have never ran a goat or a teen girls beauty pageant. Now, Trump has run a teen girls beauty pageant. Trump wished Jizzy Maxwell in prison. He wished her well. It's getting harder and harder to watch and listen to the insanity and not come to a completely different conclusion than what the White House wants us to think. And speaking of the White House, many years ago, Trump's daughter, whom he has made several, shall we say, less than complimentary sexual comments about her, his own daughter. Can you name one man other than Trump who has gone on TV and talked about how sexy his daughter is and how he would like to have sex with her? I mean, seriously. Well, anyways, his daughter Ivanka married Jared Kushner, and she converted to, Judaism, in particular, Chabad Lubavitch, right? But did you know that in 2019, Jared Kushner's family, maybe Jared Kushner and family, which includes Ivanka Trump, which includes Trump, they were meeting. They were meeting Epstein. And this is well after Epstein's pedophilia conviction was public. This is all documented in the Epstein files, folks, that have now been released. Right? But yeah, in 2019, they're talking about meeting up with Epstein, the Kushner family. How much shit is enough? When is enough evidence? We've seen it all. It's all there, and they have more. More that they've hidden from us, more that they've redacted from us, more that they said they won't show us, more that they said, no, we're not going to investigate or convict or arrest or nothing. Folks, remember Nixon, Richard Nixon. By the way, he was noticing who was pressuring him in the government back in the early 1970s. Remember, Nixon resigned as president. He's like, I'm not a crook, but I resign. Over what? Well, some CIA, some Central Intelligence stooges at the Watergate Hotel were breaking into a third-rate Democrat political office, and they got caught. And Nixon was chased out of office over that. They were going to impeach him, and no president other than President Johnson had been impeached. And that was after Abraham Lincoln. President Johnson was Lincoln's replacement. And back then, the powers that be, they got Lincoln out, and they didn't want Johnson to have a run at it. So they impeached him. And no one had been impeached up to that point, ever. Nixon resigned because he was told, we're going to impeach you. And he just resigned because of a break-in by a bunch of CIA morons. Yeah, wow. And since then, let's see, Clinton was impeached and Trump has been impeached twice. So now it just seems to be a rite of passage for presidents. But back then in the 70s, Nixon resigned over chicken shit. And here we have Trump's family, Trump's son-in-law, Trump's daughter, Trump himself meeting with Epstein. Not long before the arrest, if it was 2019. But raping kids is nothing compared to, well, breaking into a political office, right? The point of me talking about this, in addition to describing the fact that Kushner's family, Jewish, and Epstein, Jewish, Israeli, right? I'm noticing a trend here. And I'm not afraid to point it out. See, that's what they want us to do. Be silent. Be afraid. Be scared. Don't tell anyone. Don't send anything to anyone. Don't talk about it. Shut up. When you do that, they win. That's intimidation. If they can't intimidate you, they threaten you. If they can't threaten you and make you stop, then they what? Then they start fucking with your life. I happen to know a lot of people who have fuck you money. I wish I did, but I don't. But so I feel relatively safe. Maybe some people don't. Maybe the people that have fuck you money will say, fuck you, John. We're not going to risk anything for you. We'll find out, right? Maybe they're afraid of me. Maybe they're afraid of you. You want the truth? They are. They are deathly afraid of you. Deathly afraid of you. All of the bad guys, they play the same game. The same game. They never stop. It's the same game. Play like the victim. Play like the victim. Play like the victim. Hit you, strike the world, and then act like the victim. And scream anti-Semitism. Scream, it's the Holocaust all over. Folks, it's being revealed. People are waking up. People are realizing that we've been propagandized. We've been lied to. We've been fooled. We've been tricked. Did you know that Jizzy Maxwell, her dad, Mr. Maxwell, Not only was he a Mossad agent and set up Epstein, he also bought, I think, the McGraw-Hill Book Company. That may sound familiar to you. They produce books for schools, like history books and social studies. Those types of books convince kids what to believe. What's the real history? What are people really supposed to think? Maybe they even make books on, I don't know, U.S. civics. In other words, our laws, our rules, our court decisions, the powers of the president and Congress. They want to tell you what to think about things. All you've got to do is pick up this very skinny book. It'll tell you all about what the government is and is not allowed to do. But they want to sell you a book in school this thick and convince you you have no power. Folks, now, back to the Kushners. I don't know if they're pedophiles. I don't have any pictures of them. But they're associating with somebody who is one of the world's biggest goat fuckers, if you get my drift. Replaying back to the last goat analogy, right? That's a lot of goats. Just wow, folks. Just wow. The Epstein files, folks. Here we go again. Never forget, we have the war in Iran. Number one thing I talked about. The upside, the downside, the risks we face, World War III, losing our allies that actually give us things like oil, right? Never forget what they're hiding with this Iran war, with all the distractions they throw at us. Here's another reminder. The CEO of Barclays, who was in communication with Jeffrey Epstein, and this is one of the pieces of paper, one of thousands of pieces of paper in the files. It's actually one of millions. He told Epstein in this letter that the public, meaning you and me, us goyim, stupid goy, we're too distracted by bread and circuses to ever hold them, the elites, accountable. Didn't we have a little discussion about Roman civilization, the Roman Empire, the decline of the empire and the fall of the empire just the other day? Well, I guess we could just cover this real quick. Rome was strong until Rome became corrupt. Rome became perverted. Rome started being extremely, shall we say, homosexual, and they degraded their money, their currency, by mixing cheap shit metals into their silver coins. They debased it. And ultimately they collapsed as a result. But what Rome tried doing for their people was bread and circuses, just like the CEO of Barclays Bank. Barclays is huge. Told Jeffrey Epstein, give them bread and circuses, and they will never, ever hold them accountable. Well, guess what? The CEO of Barclays resigned in 2021 over his Epstein ties. Folks, this is after Epstein was arrested, but before the files were released. Why would he do that? Why would he resign in 2021 over his Epstein ties? Did he know that it would eventually come out? In fact, the New York Times called him the chief defender of Epstein over at J.P. Morgan. They all believed they wouldn't be caught, folks. They all believed they wouldn't be held accountable. Well, the names are being named. There are lots of pictures and lots of videos and a whole lot more to come. They're caught, and Trump's Department of Justice and the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, and the FBI's Director, Kash Patel, they refuse to hold these elite bastards, goat fuckers, pedophiles accountable. It's really up to you and me. It's up to us, the people of America and the world. It is completely and totally up to us now to yell, scream, and make them do their jobs. And people are doing that now, folks. They're going out and protesting. They're putting signs up and placards up on freeway overpasses. They're picketing outside of government buildings, and I believe they're going to start doing that at the homes. And I'm going to encourage this, as long as it's legal, protest at the homes outside on the street peacefully, because I can't say do anything harmful or dangerous, outside these congressmen and senators' homes. Hold them accountable. It's up to us, folks. But ultimately, we are going to have to take the law into our own hands. I'm not calling for violence, but I think we, the people, are going to have to rise up. Just like the U.S. Constitution and Declaration of Independence tell us. That when our government becomes destructive, becomes tyrannical, that we have the right and the duty to throw it off and create a government to protect our futures. Has any tyrant ever said, "Oh my God, these people are screaming and yelling. I think we're just gonna change our mind all of a sudden"? No. I think we'll just quit and tell the people to remake a new government. I don't think so. What I'm saying is I think the people are going to have to take their law into their own hands, or we just fold, give up, go away, give in, allow them to rape, kill, murder, eat children. Well, I think that before that happens, there's going to be a lot of violence. Be ready for it, folks. It will come. Don't wish for it. Don't hope for it. But it's going to come. All right. Where we're at. Oh, shoot. 32 minutes. I'm going to do this. Questions, comments down below. Get them in, because we're going to go to, well, the inner circle. All right, here we go right here. Mr. Diving Frog says, John, only 5% of the oil that comes from the Middle East is used in fuel production. So why are truckers paying $7 to $8 for diesel? Isn't diesel a byproduct of gasoline production? You know what's interesting? This gets better. If you go back to the 1800s, cheap oil was a marketing gimmick used by John D. Rockefeller. Standard Oil Company wanted to, their public marketing campaign was cheap light. What does that have to do with oil? Well, back then, they had lighting outside, street lights, and the lights in our houses. What were people using before oil? They were using whale fat, literally whale fat, cow fat, bear fat, whatever they could get, fat oil, right? Well, John D. Rockefeller said, hey, we've got all this oil here in Pennsylvania. We can refine it, aka crack it, and get the kerosene out of there. Kerosene is very clean diesel. Very clean diesel. So you could burn kerosene, and it's a lot cheaper than whale fat. And I'm glad they came up with this. It saved the whales, right? Anyways, Rockefeller started his oil company, and then he kept using his predatory practices, his cooperation with J.P. Morgan and the railroads, and Andrew Carnegie, the steel tycoon, to create a control system for controlling the prices of things. Anyways, long story short, and getting back to your discussion here, everything else left from that oil that was cracked to get the kerosene out was considered garbage. Gasoline, they literally burned it off. There were no gas engines to speak of. In fact, the first really reliable, productive motor is arguably der Diesel, That's right, a German guy named Diesel created the diesel engine, and it could burn diesel fuel. So diesel fuel was actually utilized, I think, to a greater degree than gasoline. Ultimately, they figured out how to run an engine on gasoline. I mean, the diesel engine is incredible. Still around today, of course. But it's just they use heat and pressure to ignite diesel. They used, air, fuel, a little bit of pressure, and a spark to ignite gasoline. So they just needed a spark to help the gasoline engine. But all of it was trash. So you're pointing out 5% becomes fuel, as in gasoline. There's kerosene, number 1 diesel, number 2 diesel, gasoline, asphalts, heavy asphaltic products come out of oil. They mix the heavy crudes, the asphalts, with rocks, gravel, and sand, and that's our asphalt highways. Let's see, what else do we get out of oil? Plastics, chemicals, and pharmaceutical ingredients. That's right, folks. Our pharmaceuticals, all of our great drugs, come out of a barrel of oil. And don't think for a second John D. Rockefeller didn't discover that when they started pharmaceutical companies. Everything that comes out of oil is used for something. Petrochemicals, paints, thinners, chemicals, cleaners, drugs, asphalts, oil, lubricating oils, that is, gasoline, diesel fuels, kerosene, more stuff that comes out of there. Well, very, very light methanes. Woo! Yeah. We're going to pay more for diesel because, if the cost of a barrel of oil goes up by 10%, you need to double the fuel price. That's how that works. In other words, bend over. Well, first take a wooden spoon, put it in your mouth, bend over, and take it in the poop chute, because that's what's happening. Anyways, thank you, Mr. Diving Frog. Let's see. Heidi says, I have a theory about why the Republicans are dragging their feet on the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act, of course, is the act that, the House of Representatives have passed it. They passed the SAVE Act, which is to make sure that, let's see, I believe you have an identification card to vote. Only Americans can vote. And you have to have, paper ballots. Basically, no more cheating in elections. Heidi says they're not sure, the Republicans, that they can win without cheating themselves. Well, that's an interesting theory. See, I think they're too cowardly and weak to cheat. You could be right. A lot of these districts could be run by Republicans that are cheating. Maybe they're worried they'll lose their seats. It's kind of crazy. But I think the more, prevalent opinion is that the Republicans like to lose. They like to play victim. They want to get elected, but they don't want any authority, so they're not held responsible, so they can whine and cry that they just don't have the votes, so they can play the victim. But I had a friend tell me and asked me this question last night. He said, what is with these Republicans? It seems like they're always like half Republican, half Democrat. In fact, a woman in North Carolina just got elected. She was a Democrat. She ran as a Republican and got elected. And I was asked, how the hell are they allowed to do that? Because you can identify. Here we go again with identifying. You can claim to be in any party. And I said, on top of that, take a look at all these Republicans that you mentioned. Half the time they're voting with the Democrats. They're voting to keep their sexual harassment, sexual assault settlements private. They're trying to keep the SAVE Act from passing. Right? It took all of us screaming our heads off to get them to pass release the Epstein Files Act. Trump signed it, and then they're like, nope, we're not releasing that. Here we are, right? Here we are. They like to lose, and basically the Rhino Republicans are just that. They're Democrats who have a couple of things that they want to be moral about. But they're basically fucking liars, as far as I'm concerned. Thank you, Heidi. It is Monday, folks. It is Monday. All right. All right. Let's see. Here we have Lynn, if you know me by now. If you don't know me by now. If you've ever listened to 47's interviews, that's Trump. He has often said that if he didn't talk to his enemies, he might not have anyone to talk to. He is a different breed for sure. That's an interesting, paraphrase. Of course you have to talk to your enemies. I mean, if you go back and listen to Reagan, he talked to everybody. He was the great communicator. Right? He was able to talk to America. And that's what Trump did really well. He talked to America in his campaigns. But he campaigned for this, but he's delivering that. He can say, I have to talk to my enemies. Well, you don't talk to convicted pedophiles like Jizzy Maxwell and wish her well. You don't refer to Bill Clinton and say, he didn't say, Bill Clinton, he's my enemy. He said, I don't like that they're deposing Bill Clinton. I kind of like him, or I like that guy. He didn't call Bill Clinton his enemy. He directly pointed out that Bill Clinton, he likes him. Bill Clinton, an Epstein buddy. Bill Clinton, a serial rapist, a serial sexual offender. What the fuck is Clinton? How many people did he settle with over rape? Right? The political left has no room to talk about Trump when you've got the Clintons on your side and the Obamas, and oh good golly, the amount of shit coming out on the Obamas. Anyways, I don't want to dwell on it too long. There's lots more to get to. You guys are very active in the comments here, and it's Lynn again. Okay, and Lynn says, I say that because I've witnessed many people fall over 47, thinking he could do no wrong, and now they do nothing but bash him. He said he was going to get the illegals out. That was the number one thing. Number one, not number two or number five. Number one was, we're going to deport these illegals. That was the number one thing that was worrying America. All at that time, folks, now think about this. At that time, we had illegal after illegal after illegal after illegal, robbing people, doing home invasion. At that time, we were hearing about women, especially girls, being kidnapped, beaten, raped, and murdered. In fact, Trump ran. He ran on the dead girls' names. He ran on it. He made that a campaign promise. That is fucking huge. Right? He appealed to us by getting to our heart, Lynn. Right? We voted our heart because we felt like we trusted this guy. So getting the illegals out. The Epstein files, Trump himself, along with J.D. Vance, along with Kash Patel, all swore up and down, you put us in office. You give us power and authority. We're going to get those Epstein files out. And then it was feet dragging, heel dragging, kicking and screaming by them. We finally made them fucking release them, only through pressuring Congress and the Senate, right? I know Congress is both the House and the Senate, but oftentimes I mean the House, and I just call them Congress. Anyways, these fucking people. Huge issue. I don't know. I'm pretty sure a huge campaign promise was reliable, trustworthy, believable, no more fraud, only counting Americans, elections. Trump used to call these illegals bad hombres. Now they're good people. See, it's the 180. It's the 180. And that's what's really frustrating. I don't want to bash him, Lynn. I wanted him to be fucking great. I wanted to say, Trump is abrasive and he's kind of an asshole, but you know what? So am I. So I would love him to be as great in the annals of history as Reagan or a JFK or a Teddy Roosevelt. But now he's completely tarnished it. He was supposed to be the no war president. Americans had paid, $8 fucking trillion to have wars in the Middle East. And what have we, the people, gotten for it? Apart from flag-draped coffins and an untold number of veterans that are suffering from PTSD. Not bullshit PTSD, folks. Real PTSD. Real mental trauma. Real psychological trauma. And if you've met a combat vet, you'll know what I'm talking about. And I know we've had combat vets from the history of time, the beginning of time, men have faced that down. And we were told no more wars, and look what we're getting. It's really difficult, Lynn. It's really difficult not to bash the guy because he's done a 180. In fact, we have another. Well, here we go. All the while, we just sit here and complain with zero solutions. Could it be because of J6 teaching us we're sitting ducks for it? If we do rise up peacefully, we will be imprisoned. Aha! Here we go. I have solutions. The solution is pressure Congress. Call, write, text, email, fucking carrier pigeon, smoke signals, everything. And continue to scream at them and scream at them and scream at them. Right? Get the illegals out. Get them out, period. Pass fucking laws. Force the government to do it. Right? Same with all of this fraud. Force Congress, force the president by yelling at him to reinstitute the Department of Government Efficiency, which found trillions of dollars in squandered, corrupt money, lost money laundering, just bullshit. And then they got rid of it. Where the fuck did it go? Big balls, hairy balls, and all the other balls, these young men that Elon Musk brought in a matter of hours and days, they found trillions of fucking dollars of lost money. Can't have that. Right? So what J6 did teach us is don't go to Washington, D.C. because you will be a sitting duck. If we organize a Washington, D.C. peaceful march, guess what happens? They will bring in the FBI as agents provocateurs. They'll bring in Antifa as agents provocateurs. They'll bring in the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police to be agents provocateurs, to attack the people, create a violent situation, then blame us. In fact, Nancy Pelosi has admitted, and her daughter has admitted on video, they have admitted so much it is fucking transparently obvious that she set up January 6th. Then they blame Trump. They blame Trump for it. I think they used that for the second impeachment, did they not? But it was we, the people, who, and not me, because I didn't go. I don't trust those motherfuckers up there. But they sent people to jail, 1,000 people. They rounded everyone up. They can't find these fucking illegals, but they can round up regular Americans, show up at their house, point guns at babies in cribs, at pregnant housewives, at children. If we're going to march on Washington, I think that we need to do it as part of a restore our republic and the Second Amendment and it should be an armed, peaceful march. Now, we were told by Judge Jeanine Poirot, you bring your guns into Washington and we'll arrest your ass. We don't care. Well, folks, guess what they're passing in Congress? I don't know if it's done yet, but they're trying to pass a national reciprocity rule for carrying concealed weapons. I don't even think it's a reciprocity rule. I just think it's the Second Amendment says, motherfuckers. We're going to find out, folks. Now, as far as let's see, we got boy, I tell you. Anyways, great questions, Lynn. I appreciate everything. Folks, if you're watching, read the comments. There's some good ones here. Now, presidents that have done a 180. Who's another president that was elected popularly and he did some amazing shit and something happened? Well, Argentina's president, Milei, the chainsaw, he campaigned on cutting government spending. He wanted to change Argentina. And for a while, he did just that. He cut bureaucracy. The people were excited. He raised a bunch of taxes, and the people are like, okay, we'll pay it as long as things get better. Then Javier Milei made a trip to Israel. In fact, it appears that he is related to Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu's real last name is, I think, Milei-Kowski. Javier Milei-Kowski. So since then, since his trip to Israel, Javier Milei has done a 180, and Argentina is facing a 180-degree turnaround with their president. The people are now rioting, folks, rioting down there. I wish we had better access to news, but a lot of people are saying Argentina is very close to a civil war. And the article says, right, and I don't know if this is true, but Javier Milei went to Israel. He went to the wall. He put the little funny hat on. He banged his head on the wall. And so people are down there saying, hey, it looks like he fucking adopted Judaism. And he announced, Javier Milei, president of Argentina, that he is going to allocate part of Argentina's gross domestic product to Israeli citizens as benefits. What the fuck is he thinking? He's going to take their money from a country that was broke, that cut a bunch of government, and then asked the people of Argentina to pay higher taxes. And now that they have a higher GDP, a gross domestic product, he wants to give it to the citizens of Israel as a benefit. He also raised the cost of utilities, meaning electricity, 400%. He's reinstated a 12-hour workday. Salaries are cut, and of course, increased taxes. A lot of protesters are demanding his fucking death, folks. I am not demanding his death, nor asking or calling or suggesting or anything else. But it's looking pretty nasty down there. How can a president do a 180? Well, did I or did I not last night read former CIA agent? He said that going to Israel is a part of the game, and to become part of the world leadership, there's a rite of passage. And that includes being introduced to how they play, having sex with children and killing them, and then you're accepted. Now you're in the big club. And then after you're in the big club and they own you because they have the pictures, they have the videos, now you'll do as you're told. Now you're going to do as you're told. Whew, folks. And I tell you what, let's not pretend what's going on in Israel isn't a holy war against Christianity. Did you know, have you heard Have you heard that in Lebanon, a Christian priest, bishop, cardinal has been bombed by Israel? They've blown up Christian churches, and yes, now they've killed holy men. This is a war against Christianity. In Israel, in fact, their legislature, I believe, which is known as the Knesset, has proposed a bill to ban Christianity in Israel and make it a criminal offense, to make it illegal to promote Christianity, either by word or by the internet, in the media, or even in a fucking email. It's punishable being a loud Christian, punishable with imprisonment up to 2 years. So free speech is not part of the Israeli Talmudic philosophy? Of course not. They want to control speech. You bet your ass they do. They want to control thought. And they demand obedience from everybody, especially Goyim. Goy. That would be Gentiles, anyone who's not Jewish enough. Oh boy, folks. We have trouble brewing. In fact, in America here, we now have woke Christian leaders issuing letters against the rise of white Christian nationalism. Did I not play the, right-wing Republicans are the biggest threat? Well, it's not just right-wing and nationalists, American nationalists, which is supposed to sound like Nazis, but now it's white, it's Christian, and it's nationalism. Now, if you caught this correctly, I said woke Christian leaders. Woke is not Christian, folks. Woke churches have lesbian, gay, trans, and other perverted leaders and guest sermons that are very woke, meaning fruitcake, meaning perverted, meaning disgusting. Woke churches are not churches, folks. They're, according to many now, Talmudic indoctrination centers that are promoting the Judeo-Christian belief system. They promote multi-gender beliefs that, you can be man or woman or non-binary or multi-binary. You can be a dog, a cat, a tree, a fire hydrant. You can do whatever you want and claim to be whatever you want, right? So this multi-gender belief system, it's being promoted with a religious angle that's not quite right, and a psychological justification angle, right? Now look, the bad guys are now using social media to pit Catholics versus Protestants. Do not fall for this. I am not Catholic, but I know Catholics. I believe Catholics are to be good people, and I'm not talking about anyone who's a pedophile in the Catholic Church or a pedophile in the Protestant church. And they're there. Are they not? But don't fall for the divide and conquer trick that the enemies of Christianity are now turning loose in social media. They're pretending to be either Catholics or Protestants, and they're throwing rocks at the other side. Don't fall for it. Christians, unite. Unite behind a belief that, Christ is your Savior, and unite behind Western civilization. Europe, the United States of America and Canada and Australia, right? That is Western civilization. It also applies to Central America, South America. But most strongly, right, people point to Europe and the Americas, right, as what? As being responsible for having the most sophisticated, well-educated, and civilized culture on the planets. Or on the planet, rather. Boy, that was a planets. Like Mars and the moon, I guess. I don't know what they believe on Mars. I haven't been there. And the moon, well, they're lunatics. Anyways, all levity aside, folks, don't fall for it. They're going to push it at us all to hate each other. In fact, I'm going to have to bring this last one thing up. Martin Luther, who was a Catholic priest, wrote his thesis, his problems with Catholicism, nailed it to the church door, and started Protestantism. He was protesting some of the things the Catholic Church was teaching. He didn't feel it was Christian enough. But Martin Luther also wrote a book, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think the book was called On the Jews and Their Lies. I think that was their book, or his book he wrote. So yes, he was a Catholic who became a Protestant and started Protestantism, but he looked at the other religions of the Middle East. And I'm going to ask you, how can we coexist with these people? Talmudic Israel's Muslims, the Sikhs, who are now showing us their colors. Once they get enough population, look at Canada, for example. That tall, ridiculous dude with the diaper wrapped tightly on his head, he's a fuckhead. And then also the Hindus, look at what they're doing. Now, see, they're not religiously attacking us, but they're attacking us in our secular, our economy. They're firing Americans. They're firing Europeans. They're firing Canadians. They're firing Australians, and they're bringing their own people into businesses. Right? They are screwing us over, in other words, because that's what their culture, their religion teaches. This is what you do. You take advantage of people who are courteous and nice. Western civilization needs to quit being nice. Get off your fucking knees. Stand on your own feet, raise your voice, and tell the government to behave according to the law. Folks, chance favors the prepared mind. Are you ready? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Don't be afraid. Speak, share, like, communicate. The more we stand up and yell, the more people will stand up and yell. The more people will be confident that they're not going to be hurt for speaking their truth, for speaking the facts that they see, pointing out evil and demanding justice. There's nothing wrong with any of that. There's nothing wrong with pointing out the evil in this world. Nothing at all. Thank you, Courageous Cat. Thank you, everybody. Redneck Roughneck. Woo! We got so many. Thank you to one. Thank you to all. We got Courageous Cat, Yankee Watchdog, Lynn. Oh, we got a full house in here today. Diving Frog, we got Nikki, we got everybody. Heidi, of course. And I'm going to call it a day. And, of course, C. C, next Sunday, 2 Super Chats. Thank you very much, everybody. God bless America. Semper Fi.